Greetings, welcome back to Old Ways Rising Farm YouTube channel, where today we're going to do a project just for the sheer pretty of it. Okay. Most of what we do here on the channel tends to be food oriented or utilitarian craft. But in this instance, it's late October. We've already had 2 frosts, one of them a heavy one. We're heading into winter, we're heading into the dark days of the year. And when we come out on the tail end of those dark days, February, March, April, it's really nice to cheer things up a little bit with some pretty flowers, okay? Especially in a year where we're just a week and a half after the catastrophic Hamas attack against Israel. The news is already pretty bleak and we're going into winter. So let's do a nice, happy mental health project, okay? What we're going to do is we're going to plant some bulbs with the intent of forcing them and bringing them in to have those flowers in our homes in late winter, early spring. Now there's a couple ways you can do this. You can take the bulbs, you can put them in the refrigerator for a while in some moistened peat moss, give them their chilled air, and then you can plant them in pots or even just in a cup of water. These bulbs, this is a daffodil. I picked some tulips, daffodils, and crocuses to work with in these pots. This is a bulb. There's a lot of stored energy in here. This daffodil bulb has plenty of stored energy to go through its entire life cycle once. Okay. It will grow, leaf, bloom, senesce, die back to the ground once. Just in a cup of water with not even having any soil or just in wet sand. Okay. But if you do that, you've killed the bulb. You get your one round of flowers, but the bulb will not be able to repeat bloom, repeat grow after that. Or if it does, if somehow it manages to make it after that trauma, it will take years, multiple years, 3-4 years, to regain enough strength to be able to bloom again. Okay? So we would like to plant these in such a way that we can have our pretty flowers this year and plant these out in the ground at the end of the bloom season and have them as part of our garden in future years. Now, if we want to be successful in that and have these bloom a second year, we need to know a little bit about their biology. Okay? Just about all of the spring bulbs that you're familiar with come from Mediterranean climates. Okay? Mediterranean climates are dry scrubland. That means that, that they have precipitation for part of the year, they have a wet season and a dry season, and the overall net balance of precipitation is pretty similar between what falls and what evaporates from the soil. Okay? So as the water falls and percolates down, it drags nutrients down with it. But the reverse is true during the dry season when evaporation dominates. There the water percolates up as it evaporates from the surface that absorbs more water from below. So in balance, the leaching and the upward movement from evaporation of nutrients is pretty similar, leading to dry climates having very rich soils. Because of that, these bulbs are heavy feeders. Okay? Garlic and all of the spring bulbs are like this. They are heavy feeders. If you want to grow them inside and have them survive with enough energy to thrive when you plant them out in the garden, you've got to give them soil that's well supplied with nutrients. Okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing is this idea of wet season, dry season. They have, in nature, they bloom during the spring wet season, and they senesce at the end of the wet season, and then they have dry summer conditions. They loathe heavy, wet clay during the dormant season, which for them is the summer. Okay? So if you're in zone 8 or 9 and you can't get bulbs to repeat bloom, it may just be because you don't have enough cold. That's a different issue. You're in a different category. That's a different conversation. But for all of you folks watching zone 7 and up, and colder, okay, you do not have a problem with availability of cold. If you can't get your bulbs to repeat bloom, it's because your soil is too clammy in the summer. Okay, so bear that in mind. We have to consider that. So we need a well-drained soil as we prepare this, well supplied with nutrients and well drained. Okay, this is why if you just grow them in a cup of water, they're never going to survive, or survive so weak it takes them years and years to rebloom. The easiest way to accomplish this, again, I'm in zone 5. We're in October. We're already dealing with cold soil conditions. We've had 2 frosts already. One was a pretty heavy frost. The easiest way to manage all of this is to just plant them in the soil that they're going to bloom in and leave them outside until you're ready to bring them in and force them. Okay? So to make our soil mix, we've already had some heavy frost, as I mentioned, so I'm just recycling some soil that used to have other stuff in it. But because we have bulbs that do not want a clammy soil, I'm going to take some pine bark. And I'm going to mix a couple of handfuls of pine bark into this soil before I put it in the pot. This will give us a nice, well-drained mix. If you can't find pine bark this time of year, because a lot of places will be sold out and not reordering until spring. If you can't find pine bark this time of year, you absolutely can use perlite or vermiculite for this, but this whole pot's just going to go in the ground, so it's kind of an expensive way to do it. We're just going to fill up our pot. Okay. There we go. A little bit more pine bark for the next layer of soil in here. Do you hear the bald eagle chirping, hon?
Oh, that's why they're
Heard them off in
excited.
the background.
Why the chickens are excited.
Yeah, it's probably that baby eagle that we've been seeing.
Yep.
Mix a little more pine bark in here. This bottom layer of soil with some old compost has kind of gotten a little heavy and sludgy. We need to zhuzh it up a little bit. Okay. We'll use more of that. So there, this is guaranteed to drain nicely. Soil over time, the organic matter decomposes, gets sludgy, and it collapses. So we've got to, when we're going to reuse old soil, you always want to put some new organic matter in it to restore the fluff. Okay. Now, I'm going to plant this pot asymmetrically. Okay. I'm going to put 6 bulbs in this one. So I'm going to go with 4 tulips. And I'm going to plant this with intent to have it by a window, with one side being viewed. So you're looking at the view side and I am the window side. So I just put my tulips toward me. And I'm going to take, I got a nice salmon tulip here, 2 daffodils. Okay. And you can use any mixture you like. Plant what you like. This is your mental health project. Okay. And I'll put these 2 daffodils in here. So I have the tulips right against the back wall. The daffodils fairly close together inside of them. Tuck them in that away. Okay. Now, the tulips and daffodils want to be planted deeper than the crocuses, so I'm going to put some more soil in here, just enough to cover the noses of those bulbs. Now I'm going to take some of my crocuses. We kind of went orange theme with orange and yellows here, so I got some orange crocuses. I'm going to grab 6 of these. Again, I'm just telling you what I'm putting in this pot. It's your mental health project. Pick your own posies. And while I line the tulips up right against the back and the daffodils in the middle, these I'm going to put right along the front here. Okay, because they're much shorter little flowers. So we'll have a few of these little guys that come up first. Right along the edge. So we have an asymmetrical planting. Now I'm going to put enough soil in to just cover them. Okay? So now everybody's in at their proper planting depth. in our nice, light, well-drained soil. Now, the next thing that we need to do is attend to the fertility of the soil. You hear all them chickens in the background. Chickens, let's just say they produce a lot of fertility. Okay? You got to clean that fertility out of their coop on a regular basis. And the majority of the fertilizer I use in the gardens and the pots comes either from the chickens or from the sheep. But this is not the right time to use that type of fertilizer. Okay? Two reasons. One is that in organic fertilizers, the fertility is not immediately available to the plants. It has to be decomposed first, and that happens over a long period of time during warm weather. These pots are never going to see warm weather. Okay? So all of that chicken manure is going to be inert until these are done. Second of all, it's going to lay there inert, wet, get slimy, and then bring it in the house. That's no good, right? It's just going to be a stinky mess. So this is not a place for the organic fertilizer. We want to use a salt-based fertilizer. So I have some 5-10-10 and just a regular kitchen teaspoon. And I'm going to put 2 teaspoons of 5-10-10 across the top of this. Now 5-10-10 is half fertilizer and half filler. Pure fertilizer is 10-20-20. If you want to understand more about what all of these words mean, I did a video on salt-based fertilizers, and I'll put a link here at the top of the screen. So you can finish this and then wander over and examine that one. Okay? But the filler is usually limestone crumbs. The salt crystals will dissolve, and they'll go down, and they will supply plenty of nutrients for our plants. Again, bulbs are heavy feeders. And they're resilient in, like, sort of salty, dry soils, right? So we're not going to hurt them here. This will go down. They're going to grow roots starting immediately. The soil is cold enough to grow roots immediately. So I'm going to leave these outside. I'm going to cover up this fertilizer with just one more handful of soil. Okay. There's plenty of moisture in the soil. I'm just going to leave these out in the elements. The rain will wash that down about the same time the roots start to grow. And we will have plenty of nutrients in this pot for these bulbs to complete their cycle in good condition. Okay? And this is one where you want to use the salt-based fertilizers. Now, I'm going to leave this outside. The nemesis, nothing eats daffodils because they're poisonous. But the tulips and the crocus are both very much loved by mice. So if I just leave the pot like this, first the chickens are going to think I hid treats for them in here, and they're going to dig it up. Then the mice are going to find those bulbs, and then I'll bring them in late winter, and nothing will grow. So we need to protect them. So I just have a piece of wire. This is just some hardware cloth. Bent the corners down. We'll put this on top, and kind of just carefully fold it and bend it so that the chickens do not scratch, the mice do not invade. You know, you're not trying to keep anything serious out. And after I'm done with this, I'll probably take a pair of pliers and bend down some of these kind of recalcitrant spots. Sometimes you can kind of fold them and double fold them there. Okay. Just get it so it stays, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, it's just a little guard. Then we're going to take some wire. Now, this is just some stove wire. This was a $2 spool. If you have some scrap copper wire from a wiring job, you can use that. If you have some trapline wire, if you're involved in hunting and trapping, you can go to a trapping supply and get trapline wire. That works really well. That's even stronger than this stuff. But while I have a spool of that, I'm not sure where it is. So I had to buy stuff. This is what I could find. You know, don't overthink the wire. We just want something that we can put on here. Let me turn it so you can see it. And then we're just going to kind of pull and twist. Just enough to keep this wire cap from falling off. Right, now I can actually literally pick this up by the wire cap and it will hold. So that just holds it on. And now this, I'm going to need to do a little bit of fixing on a couple things here. Get it folded in. I'll do that off camera. You get the idea. But this can just be left out in the elements to naturally go through its life cycle as though it was in the ground until we're ready to bring it in. Now I bought enough bulbs. I'm going to do 3 pots of this, and we'll spring them in every other week. Okay? So from when you bring them in, it'll be about a month or so. It'll be about 3-4 weeks, 2-3 weeks until the crocuses start to bloom, grow and bloom, and about a month until the tulips and daffodils start to bloom, and the crocuses will stop blooming, then your others will come in. So each of these will have flowers coming out of it for about 3 weeks or so, and we'll stagger them 2 weeks. So this will give us about a month and a half of some happy flowers in the house, right? So this is a very nice thing to do for your mental health at that transition from winter to spring. And when they're done blooming, the ground will be thawed. We just take these pots and put them out in the garden proper, and they will bloom for years to come. So I hope you consider this. This is, in my opinion, the easiest way to manage forcing of bulbs with the highest chance of success and further survival going forward after you're done forcing them. Do make sure that when you go and you buy the bulbs, that you buy bulbs that are hardy and capable of thriving in your area. Right? If you're in a zone 3 climate and you get zone 6 hardy bulbs, you're still not going to have any success next year. Right? But this gives you control over what you pick out so that you have a very good chance of having these things perennialize and go forward with yourself and your farm. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did and you wanted to give it a thumbs up, that helps the YouTube algorithm know that you enjoyed it, show it to others. I am always most grateful when you do that. And I hope that you will join us here next time at Old Ways Rising Farm.